Hello neighbor, this is Curt with eTrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the Thule Wing Bar Edge roof rack on our 2025 Nissan Rogue. Now if you've had any experience with this roof rack, or if you have questions about it after watching this video, just go ahead and leave those in the comments below. We love to take those and use them to help our other neighbors make the best decisions for themselves. Now the Thule Wing Bar Edge is a flush crossbar, meaning it doesn't have any kind of overhang bar. People like these because they're cleaner looking. They don't have to worry about head space when they're getting in and out of the car and hitting their head on anything. And it just generally has a cleaner, more factory look. It is an Aero style bar, which means it's got an ovular or a blade shape. It's wider in the front, narrow in the back. That's really going to help with wind noise, reducing that while you're traveling. It also is going to help a little bit with your gas mileage as well. The bars are going to have a 165-pound weight capacity. However, you always want to double check your owner's manual and check the factory roof capacity. Whichever of those numbers is smaller, that's how much you can carry up there. Now, the way that these bars can work with accessories is you are free to use your clamp mount accessories. There's also a rubber stripping at the top that's split, so you can use your T accessories as well. Those will be added in through your towers with the cap removed. But since we're up here and we're talking about different accessories and things, it is important to know what our crossbar spread is. So from the center of one bar to the center of the next, we are at a 28.5-inch bar spread, and that's a really good place to be. Most rooftop accessories require between a 26 and a 32-inch spread, so these should work out perfectly for us. The other thing we're going to check is just how much more it's adding to the roof. 3¼ inches higher, that's not a whole lot. You're probably not getting into areas that are, have a low enough clearance that you got to worry about that, but it is good to know just what you got up here otherwise. Under the bar, between the roof, we're going to have about 2½ inches, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing accessories and how they're going to work on here. I like the placement of these bars. It is specific, as you'll see in a moment when we show you how to install them, but if you're standing in the second row door threshold, that puts you right in between them, which means any of your accessories up here are just going to be that much easier to reach. So now that we've talked about a few of the features and exactly how this fits onto our Nissan Rogue, why don't we go ahead and show you exactly how we got these installed. So as we begin our assembly, we're going to kind of lay everything out here. We already have our first bar installed, and the reason we went ahead and did that is because with a naked roof, you don't have fixed mounting points. So the instructions are going to tell us just how far back from the windshield to mount this bar, and then it'll give us a measurement from this bar to setting on our back bar. So we went ahead and installed the front bar first. But in order to put our tower together, there are some things you have to pay attention to in the instructions. Your foot pads are going to be specific as far as to where, front, back, driver, passenger, where they're going to go, and that's because they're shaped very specifically to the contour of your roof in order to get a really snug, good seat for your crossbars. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and make sure we are matching up. So I'm taking my tower that is for the driver's side rear and the appropriate foot pad to put on it. I'm just going to kind of press this down into place until it's seated comfortably. Once we have our foot pad seated in a nice secure position, we're going to go ahead and insert our clamp to the tower. Now, you are going to get two different lengths of clamp in your kit. You have a shorter set and a longer set. The longer set is going to go on the rear crossbar, while the shorter set is going to end up on the front crossbar. And that's only because you have more car body to reach back here to get into that door threshold. So just remember, the longer set is going to go in the back. We're going to install this. You notice there's two little hooks right here. We're simply going to insert it in this area and press down until we hear it lock in. And then once it's locked in, it's nice and secure, and we can move on with the rest of our install. Now, your tower is essentially assembled at this point. We did remove the cover here. There's a little metal tab that you see right here, and when you insert this into the crossbar here at the end, you'll depress this tab and slide it over until it pops up right in through this hole right here. But before we do that, we should put in our weather stripping. So the weather stripping is really simple. You're going to go ahead and separate your pieces first. Then on the plain side, which is going to go on the narrow end of the crossbar. It is an Aero crossbar, so it's wider in the front, narrow in the back. The plain end is going to go back here facing away. And all we're going to do is just depress this down into these tabs as we move along and make it flush on the end there. And depress this all the way down until it's in. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the front piece of weather stripping. And this is easy to identify because of these arrows. These arrows should be pointing forward on the vehicle. And we're going to install that the exact same way. And finally, what we'll do is go ahead and insert our towers here. We'll just depress that tab down and push it in until we hear it click and lock in. There we go. We're just going to repeat that process over here on the passenger side. Now that we have our towers attached to the crossbar, it's time to set our crossbar length. And we're going to do that using the provided Thule tool right through this area here. And in your instructions, it'll give you a bar length that is indicated by these lettered hash marks here. On the back bar, which is what we're assembling right now, it asks us to tighten it down to the B length, which is going to be this hash mark right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this down until the edge of my crossbar meets the hash mark for the letter B on both sides. Now, as far as bar placement goes, I mentioned that you have to place the first bar on so you know where to place the second bar. The first bar, they asked for a measurement from the front of the tower to the top of the windshield of 14 1/8 inches, so we've got those set right at that. The measurement for our second bar is going to be from the front of our first crossbar to the front of our second crossbar, so it'd be 28 3/8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and get kind of a rough measurement right now so I know about where to place my bar. So I'm going to set it right here, and we're going to go ahead and tweak it from there after we get it up here and get some accurate measurements. I'm going ahead and I'm making sure that this seats properly along the contours of the roof line with these rubber pads that I've got here. And once I get it to 28 3/8 from front of the bar to front of the bar, I am going to double check both sides to make sure that they're perfectly perpendicular with the vehicle. And then once I have that measurement accurate on both sides and I know I'm even, I can go ahead and get things tightened down. Now, once you get it on the roof in the correct position, you may sometimes run across that the claws aren't quite reaching all the way down. You're able to tighten and loosen those clamps here, right through this hole right here using your provided Thule tool. So I'm just going to loosen this up a bit because I do have the crossbars exactly where I want them. And as I'm loosening it up, you can see the claw is lengthening some, or the clamp rather. And once I get it around there, I'm just going to go ahead and make it snug. I am not going to tighten it all the way down. What we want to do is kind of go back and forth, tightening incrementally. If I tighten this side down too much off the bat, the other side is likely going to pop out of position and I'll have to start all over. So a little bit at a time on each side. Now, after I've got each side tightened down almost completely, I've ensured that everything is seated properly and stayed in its position. We're going to go ahead and tighten down completely. Now, that provided Thule tool that they give you is a torquing tool. So we're going to hear a loud, audible pop, just like that, when we know that it's tight enough. We're going to do the same on the other side, and then we're going to replace our covers. Now that we've gone back and forth and got both of our towers snugged down and ensured that everything remains seated properly and the crossbar stayed in position, we're going to go ahead and make sure this is torqued down to spec. Now, the provided tool with the kit is a torquing tool. So once you have it tightened to the correct specs, we're going to hear a nice loud pop, just like that. Now we know that this is tightened down as it should be. We can go ahead and replace our tower cover, and we'll repeat the same process on the other side. Now, you may or may not have noticed as we were assembling these that there are no locking cores here in the tower covers. They do provide you with a set of plastic ones that you can install. They can be opened with a flathead screwdriver or a similar tool. However, for the security of your cargo and items and the crossbars themselves, I really recommend that you pick up a set of Thule one-key lock cores. You can get all of your towers keyed alike and get them keyed alike to any Thule accessories you may have. So there's a look at the Thule Wing Bar Edge roof rack on our 2025 Nissan Rogue. I'm Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.